face.mod.ma. This is the completed version. And there's another one, face spheres steps, that have all the steps from the very beginning to the end. Don't save. Right, so in this file, you see the final version in the final layer, but then I also included the initial steps, how I go from basically it started out as a sphere, and now how I started from a sphere and then gradually become a head. So this approach begins with a sphere. Right? I can quickly show you how I did that with the sphere. So let's save this out as a separate file. This is section 1, right? Okay. Let me hide the eyeballs. Right, so I need my cheat sheet somewhere to cheat. Okay, so first thing I would do is to create a sphere, and that sphere. Okay, no, that's not even the first stage. The first stage is to bring in the image files. So I prepare some images under source images. You find two pictures, front and side. Make sure that they are aligned. Make sure that they do align. So the chin should be about the same level. The eye should be about the same level. Make sure that the features do align. I did that as a single drawings in Photoshop and just separate them out into two pictures so that I can bring them into Maya. In Maya, the next thing is to decide the scale of your character. So I need to know how big my unit is in this Maya scene. So first thing I want to check is to check the settings. So it's set to centimeter. So that means 1 unit is 1 centimeter in Maya. So is this 1 unit, is this square here a unit? The next thing you want to check is to check the grid display, how it's being displayed. So actually I want to reset it. So it's showing me, okay, this is very confusing. So let's set it to 1 unit and 1 subdivision. Okay, so that means each little square is 1 centimeter. Now that's not very helpful, right? There's so many small squares here. So what we could do is to display it maybe 10 every 100 units we display 10 subdivisions. So every grid line would be like a whiter color. Okay, so this would be more helpful, right? So we know that the larger square represents 1 meter and the smaller ones represent 10 centimeters because I'm subdividing each unit. I'm drawing 10 subdivisions for every unit. So these are the subdivisions. Okay, so this person is about 1.7 meter high. And then you would then bring in your image from the different views. So in the front view, you would create an image plane and pick the front image and then just move it up, scale it up to the size that you want. all right? And then on the attribute editor, you might want to lower the alpha gain so that it's not blocking everything that you create on the scene. So we do the same thing for the side view and just have the two images, align in space like this before we begin modeling. Okay, all right, so let's get back to our sphere. So with my sphere, I'm going to move it up to about this location, and if you look at my demo, I have the ears removed, so you can sort of guess that I started off with the sphere oriented sideways, because right now the spheres, the two poles, the North Pole and the South Pole, are oriented vertically. You could actually rotate it 90 degrees. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to change the axis of the polysphere. So when you first create a polysphere, there is a polysphere tab that allows you to change how this is made. You can change the radius. You can change the subdivision. And there's also an axis you can change. This axis actually define how this sphere is oriented. By default, it's 0, 1, 0. It's a vector with a y, x, y, z. The y is now 1, so it's pointing up. But if we change this vector to 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, then the axis is now horizontal along the x-axis. Okay, so we will start with this. Then the next step is to decide how many divisions we want to start with. Before I go on, I need to sidetrack a little bit with an extrude tool. Okay. So the way we create the eye sockets and the mouth is through extruding, like how we did with the arm. So let me increase the subdivision to 6 for now. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you how the eyes are created. So we grab one face, and then we do an extrude, and then we simply scale it down instead of pulling it out, and you created a radiating structure for the eye socket. You can create like multiple division. That would be how we create the eye sockets. Okay, but I'm gonna undo it. So first thing we need to know is where do we want the eyes to form. Now we can't use this face because we need the nose as well. So we need some faces for the nose. So we don't have enough subdivision. So let's try to increase the subdivision to 8. And now we have, okay, these two faces will be for the nose, and this would be for the eyes. Okay. So I have to, this very conventional way of modeling, you have to think ahead how you plan to model it. So you have to think ahead. So I'm telling you what I'm planning to do when I'm deciding on the number of divisions. So this will be the eye sockets, this will be the nose, and what about the mouth? So the mouth would be somewhere around here, right? So do we have enough subdivision in this direction? We have 8 subdivision. What about 10? 10 will give us a little bit more details to play with. So maybe we'll start with 10. I think that's how many I had in my demo. So I had 10. Okay, so we'll start with 10, and we'll start shaping. Okay, so. Okay, let's go back to the front view and see if it's good. Take a look at the front. I want this to go in a little bit. This goes. Before we start manipulating, you could also turn on the symmetry. The symmetry is available in all the tools on the left-hand side. So you double-click on any tools on the left-hand side, and you will find the symmetry settings. We want the symmetry to be in the object X direction. So whenever I pick something on the positive X, something else on the negative X will be picked up and mirror. So we're going to do something like this. Alright, so let's think about where do we want to have the eye sockets to form. Right, so I was thinking about having this face for the eye socket, but I think right now we might want to use 4 faces for the eye sockets. So I think it's better to use 4 faces to extrude the eye socket instead of 1. So that with 4 faces, it will give us a little bit more detail to shape the eyes. But the problem is that with 4 faces, I would not have enough face for the nose. So I would have to insert an edge loop in the center for the nose. So now we will have these 4 faces. And so the center faces will be for the nose to grow out. So we're going to use these 4 faces and extrude, scale it down, and don't add too many division at this moment. Just leave it at 1, because we could add more details later on. And then you just start shaping it from the side view. So this should maybe go up a little bit. Right, so that's pretty much it. Okay, so from the side view, we actually do want this face to be flat, not like this. So I'm going to use the scale tool. But with the scale tool, if you have it aligned with the object's orientation, you can scale it down to flatten it. Great. So that would be our first radiating structure. And now let's come to the mouth. For the mouth, okay, let's study the topology first. All right, let's study the topology. Here, okay, let's take a look at this picture here. Let's take a look at this picture on the left-hand side of the woman. So we have the radiating structure surrounding the lips, and then there's a second radiating structure that goes on top of the nose as well. Where my cursor is right now pointing at, this gray area is another piece of radiating structure covering the nose. So that means we look at the side view, so the nose actually come down to here. So that means I need another line. So I'm going to use another insert edge loop around here. So these will be my nose, and these two would be the tip of my nose, and this whole section will be part of that radiating structure. So if I grab all these faces and just extrude, modeling like vertex pushing. Okay, turn on the symmetry again. Okay, so the way I invoke this menu, symmetry menu, is by holding down, you know, the Q, W, E, R key are shortcuts to your selection, move, rotation, and scale tools, right? So hold down any one of these keys. So let's say I'm in this in the move tool. I hold down the W key and click, left mouse click. It will bring up this menu. So under symmetry, I can turn it off and on quickly. So I can turn on symmetry. So now with the symmetry on, I can just start shaping it. Right, so you can see I already have a radiating structure forming. And you can see in my drawings there's this crease on the face. I can now, you know, shape it to prepare for that line to form. So we're going to add one more edge loop around here for the mouth. We will clean up this area later on because this is quite messy right now, but we're going to clean it up. But first thing we want to do is to get the topology in place for the mouth and the eyes. And now for the mouth, we're going to, you know, continue on to extrude. Might want to grab all these faces and extrude again. Something like this. Okay. Next step is to get the nose to grow out of these faces. So grab all these and let me move this down a little bit. Right. So these faces will have will be extruded out. I might have picked some. Oh, okay. So I accidentally picked another face in the back. Okay, I messed up the back of the skull a little bit because I might have accidentally extruded. But I'll fix that later on. Great. So so be very careful when you're selecting face. Don't accidentally select faces in the back. Check all around. So I just made a mistake here. Alright, so let's extrude the nose out and just scale and rotate so we get the nose sort of like this. And this vertices will go up a little bit. Alright, so I got my basic shape, and then I'm going to clean up the ears. So I don't really need, now this is totally unwanted because there's a lot of triangles here. What we want to do is to keep these lines to go like this edge. I actually don't want it to converge to a center. I want it to go continuously to the back of the head. So I'm going to fix these topology. So I'm going to delete all these faces, right? So they're no longer there. Okay, I have a little problem here. So let me just delete one side of the head and mirror it. Okay, so I'm going to delete one side of the face because I need to fix some errors that I introduced earlier. So we'll turn off the symmetry, select one side of the face, delete, and okay, mirror this back to the other side. Let's check if there's any problem. Okay, I have some unwanted polygon here that I need to clean up, so delete it. Okay, so back to object mode. I'm going to mirror. In the x direction, in the negative x direction, because we're going from the positive to the negative. We look at this little coordinate system here. So this is all good. So we're going to mirror, and we have a mirror face. Now it's time to fix this part. So how do we want to fix this? What we want is to have the edges to flow naturally from the front to the back. So obviously this have to be connected to this connects to this, and then this will have to connect to here, and then backward. So we're going to use something called add append to polygon tool. This, once you have activated this tool, the border edges will become thicker, and you could then click on the border edge, right, and then just follow the arrows to click, 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 click. Won't let me click. Why is it? I have the same problem yesterday. No, I'm not sure what's going on here. Symmetry is off, yeah. Pen, let's reset the tool. Won't activate it. All right, now it's working. All right, it won't let me do it. Not sure what's going on with that tool. So I'm going to try something else. I'm going to fill the hole, and then use the multi-cut tool to cut. Make another cut here, and here we're going to make another cut. Okay, before we go to do the ear, there's like, this is an angle. So wanna maybe make another cut from here all the way down to here, and then down all the way to here. Alright, so they now remain as quads. Okay, so before I jump into model the ears, I want to extrude out the neck. So instead of taking all that faces, I'm gonna take these. So only maybe these faces, and move it down. Accidentally select the front faces. Component mode, so we can like expand it in this direction. Okay, so I'm preparing for the neck to form. Alright, so this would be good enough. So we don't pick too many faces, otherwise we'll end up with too many details. So this would be good. So we're going to turn off the symmetry. And extrude. So we now have a lot less details on the neck. Okay, so we can just, you know, start pushing around and form a better shape. So that would be one way to do it, and that's done starting off with a sphere. But I discovered a quicker method yesterday. Instead of doing it with a sphere, instead of starting out with a sphere, it actually is more convenient to start out with a cube. Right, so I'm going to grab all these faces and extrude. Give it 2 divisions, and then these faces, extrude, downward, division 2. Okay, so I'll end up with this shape that looks already like a skull, right? And then I'm going to start shaping it to look more like a skull. Now I'm not going to bother shaping the rest, but I want to show you this will give me already a few faces to start with for the eye sockets, and you can insert edge loop around here, and start, you know, extruding the eye socket. Alright, and these would be our faces for the nose, and this would be for the mouth. Extrude and extrude. Okay, I'm not gonna continue doing it, but I just want to show you quickly that starting with a cube this way is so much easier, because you don't have to worry about cleaning up the ears, because everything is already like flowing in the right direction. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna come back to this and continue to add more details to the eyelids. Okay, so here's my very basic eyelid. And for the lips, I like to do it this way. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. And oh wait, one more thing. For the ears, I'm gonna quickly show you how the ears was done. So for the ear, I'm using extrude again. So this time I'm going to use a few faces, 4 faces to start with. Just extrude out just a little bit, and then scale it down, move back. Extrude again. Scale it down. Extrude again. Right, I'm not paying too much attention to the shape. I just want to get the topology there so we can start sculpting up later on. So I'm more concerned about getting the right topology for the ear. And just going to shape it into a rough shape now. Alright, so that's how I made the ear. Instead of starting out with a rough shape of the head, this method starts from the details. So instead of going from the rough to the details, this is the other way around. We start with the details. We start with the eye socket first, and the mouth first, and then gradually grow out of the eyes and the mouth. Create polygon 2. So basically it allows you to just click, click, click to create polygons. Okay, it's my first polygon. So this is our first step. I'm going to do the same thing for the mouth. I'm going to do create polygon 2 and I want to make sure that I can snap to the center line. Let's do it later. Okay, so let's just roughly draw out a shape. And move these to the center. Snap it to the center, okay, and then mirror this part. But before I mirror, I want to make sure that the pivot point is actually, before you mirror anything, you want to make sure that the pivot point is actually at the not here, but make sure that the pivot point is here. Right, so undo it. So make sure your pivot point is at the center, at the there's a center line here in this world. So make sure it's at the center, and you want to snap it to the center. Okay, so now I'm going to mirror this. Grab all the edge and extrude, offset. Need to also mirror this to the other side, so the mirror. Alright, so I have two, and now we're gonna combine these three into one. Okay. Now we're going to continue on extrude them. Okay, now we're gonna figure out how to connect these two together. Right? So there's definitely not enough edges to match. So we're gonna add some edges to match up. So insert edge loop around here. And so now this could kind of match up with this. This will match with that. Quattro, does it work? Okay, Quattro works now for some reason. It wasn't working before, but now it works. So we're going to connect these together. Only works on the front but not from the back. That's no wonder. Okay, so this will be from here, we're going to form another surface. And this will continue on like that. The rest is just continuing to extrude the edges to form the rest. But I think this would be easier to predict the flow of the edges. So that's another way to approach it. But I just started exploring this technique, so I haven't really finished completely model ahead with this technique yet. But I think, given it's so easy to start with the eye sockets and the mouth, the rest is just pushing and pulling. So it would be quite straightforward.